Alright guys, we are back with some more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and we're starting off with trial part 2 actually. I'll just say trial number 2, but this is actually the continuation of Gina's trial, and we're going to continue on and do our best to get her the verdict she deserves. So I hope you all continue to enjoy watching, and let's keep it rolling. Order, please. Let us resume proceedings. Witnesses, you will now retake the stand. I presume you heard the defense counsel's summation examination? Oh, yeah, Governor. I did, Gov. I did. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Yo, blimey! This is gonna be hard work. Earlier in this trial, you gave the following testimony about your actions after you entered Windibanks. Well, it was bedlam soon as, weren't it? It was, Nash, it was. Didn't even have time to pull me dukes out of me Lucy lockets. However, that was a lie. You brothers. Blimey! On the night in question, you rifled through the items in the victim's counter. We never done nothing of the sort. How do you figure that out? You will now give formal testimony once again. You will tell the court precisely what happened in the night in question, and this time you will tell the truth. Each lie that passes your lips serves to increase the severity of your punishment. And there he goes again, wasting another hollow chalice. And that gentleman may deal a crushing blow to your chances of ever seeing the light of day again. A thought worth pondering, perhaps. Say no more, Gov. We hear ya. We'll blab, we'll squeak, we'll peach. Here we go. Witness testimony. Illegal entry, the whole truth. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. It was when we heard the gunshot, see? Made us both jump and all that stuff went flying. Lummy didn't Alf give me a fight, we was thinking the shooter'd come out of the door and get us next. We stuck everything back where we found it and scarpered straight into him in the black. We couldn't have shot the pawnbroker, see? We never even had a chance, did we? So you admit to the defense accusation. You did indeed ransack Mr. Windibank's countertop on the night in question. Not ransack, Governor, no. That's right, Nash, that's right. It's more like we tidied up. Yeah. Sorry. By their own admission, these brothers entered the pawnbrokery under dubious circumstances. However, they panicked and fled on hearing the gunshot, having first made good their mess. The way you say it, we hardly sound like roughs at all. We don't, Nash, we don't. Can't he make us sound a bit more cutthroat? It can't just be a coincidence that these men showed up at Windibanks that night. There's more to their testimony than meets the eye, I'm sure of it. Alright, we did knock a few things over, but we weren't rifling for nothing. It was when we heard the gunshot, see? Made us both jump and all that stuff went flying. And there you go. I wanna press. Hold it! So what you're saying is, the sound of the gunshots shocked you so much you knocked all those things off the counter. Well, it shocked one of us that much, yeah. The bag of nerves needs to learn to keep his shirt on. Look, it was loud, alright? Blimey, me dead granny would have woken up at that bang. Big bruv here screamed like a bloomin' baby and fell over on the counter. He knocked over a load of books and candlestick and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette, what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked them scales on the floor. You really mastered working quietly then. What a racket. Me granny would have been scared back into her grave at the clatter like that. So, in short, the gunshot took you by surprise. That sucked. I mean, it was quiet as a mouse and then all of a sudden, BAM! And what is that? There's always something going on. Oh, hello. Alright, let's do this. Excuse me! Inspector Gregson, do you have something to add? Like I keep saying, I don't appreciate being lumped in with these scoundrels. No, something to add about their testimony. You seem to react just now what Mr. Skulkin said. Did it make you think of something? It's probably nothing, of course. I wouldn't even bother to mention it, only... Well, the fact is, cases don't get solved if you ignore the little details. How about you just tell us what's on your mind? As you know, we brought these fellas in the yard for a questioning last night. And the statement they gave then told a slightly different story to what they're saying now. Did it? You claimed you heard the victim shout something out before the gunshot. Might have, Gov. Might have. Does ring a bell now you mention it. Granted, it's only a minor detail, but still. I can't help feeling like perhaps you've been a bit sloppy with your testimony here, eh, fellas? If I discovered the witness's testimony has been any more sloppy than it has hitherto proven to be, I shall be forced to bring the very harshest punishment to bear against them. Easy, easy. We'll get it right this time. That's it. Yep. It's all coming back to me now. Then speak. Supplement your testimony with whatever details you have miraculously returned to your questionable minds, sirs. Right you are, Gov. Just before the gunshot, we heard a voice yelling out, "Give me the gun." Is that how it is? Let me see. There should be a picture that says otherwise, if I remember correctly. Objection! That reveals a damning inconsistency, that last statement. Damning, you say? As I look at you, counsel, I see your trembling hand, your pallid expression, your perspiring brow. Huh? It seems to me that misplaced confidence of your assertion. Ugh, he has a damning tongue. You invited, sir. Just before the gunshot, we heard a voice yelling out, "Give me that gun." The bloke what owned the place was holding a gun, so he should have fired just fired instead of yelling at the girl. I mean, didn't have to give me a fight. We stuck everything back where we found it in Scarper, right? We could have shot. Okay. We're gonna have to go over this again. That's it? That's the full extent of their testimony? What is it, Verno? You look very fierce. I could pour you some herbal tea if you're tired. Oh, thank you, but I'm fine. Being such a logical thinker, you'll probably laugh. But I feel as though these brothers are still hiding something important. It is nothing more than a feeling, though. I have no proof to support it. Well, feelings can be very logical at times. Sorry? People's expressions, the movements of their eyes, the words they choose. You can take all that in, and your brain will quietly analyze it to come up with a feeling like you described. You've concluded that there's something suspicious about this testimony without knowing why, that's all. I think you should trust your instincts. Iris. Thank you. Sometimes I think if she's 10 years old, I must be 5. Alright, let's get through this again. Alright, we did knock over a few things. We did knock over. The gunshot, we heard a voice yelling out, "Give me that gun." The bloke what owned the place was holding a gun, so he should have just fired instead of yelling at the girl. Seems wrong. Let me try. Okay, hold on. No, that seems right. What he says seems off, that's why, and I figured this picture would work on that, but maybe... Objection! So you're saying that on the night in question, the victim, Mr. Windibank, was wielding a gun, is that correct? That's it, Gov. You've got the picture. He has, Nash. He has, no question. And yet, the photographic evidence obtained immediately after the incident clearly shows that Mr. Windibank was not holding a firearm of any description. You... what? Gordon Bennett, that ain't right!
Objection!
There can be no question that the victim's revolver was used in the incident. I would remind the court that Mr. Windibank's gun was found at the scene. Not only was it identified as the murder weapon, but it was found in the accused's hand. Yeah, that mall tooler used the victim's own gun to finish him off. Give me that gun. Bam! Kind of thing.
Hold it!
Stay exactly where you are, right there. Eh? If the crime had taken place as you so colorfully described in your testimony, it would give rise to an undeniable and significant inconsistency in the final moments you just acted out. Goodness! Are you sure, counsel? You intrigue me, my learned friend, but let's see some evidence to support your claim. Where's the proof that demonstrates this inconsistency in the witness's portrayal of the victim's final moments? Oh, we have that. I know we do. Hold on. What was it? Autopsy report. Let's go.
Take that!
According to their testimony, the witnesses claim to have heard a shout of "Give me the gun," followed by the gunshot. Indeed, with the two events happening almost simultaneously, or so we've been led to believe. Yes, that's right. Now, if that testimony is true, it would mean that at the moment of death, the victim and his attacker would have been facing each other. However, in the autopsy report, it clearly states that the victim died instantly after being shot from behind. So, as I stated before, there is an undeniable inconsistency in your testimony, Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. Yeah! But it's the God's honest truth. It is, Nash, it is. Wendy's was shot that night. The shopkeeper had a gun in his, and we saw it with our own bleeding eyes. Did I hear you right just now? You actually saw Mr. Windibank holding a gun. Something like that must have slipped out. Ladies and gentlemen, you have all just heard the admission by these two witnesses that on the night in question they actually saw with their own eyes the victim wielding a gun. Which can only mean that despite their testimony to the contrary, the Skulkin brothers must have encountered the victim in person. Nash, yeah! Order! Order! Witnesses, explain yourselves at once. Well, the thing is, it weren't supposed to, It would seem that my previous warning fell on deaf ears. I made it quite clear that false witness would be the death of you. Am I to understand that you replaced the untruths of your original testimony with renewed lies? Ever so sorry, Governor. Truth is, see, we, Cut it out, Nash. Cut it out. If we blab now, you know what it'll do to us. He? What are you talking about? Let me make your position here perfectly clear. You will talk. There is no other option available to you. Bro, come on. The game's up. But you'll have our guts for garters. In case it hasn't quite sunk in yet, no matter how hard you try to hide it, the truth will come out. On the night in question, it is now apparent that you brothers met face to face with the victim. I demand that you testify again to explain the precise circumstances under which this meeting took place. Well, do we have to? on pain of death. I suggest you make yourselves fully aware that this is your very last chance to tell the truth. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief and the geezer showed his mug. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we'd had it. For an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter. I pulled my gun on him, and then he legged it through the door into the back room. He never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all what happened, I swear. So you're now telling us that moments before the victim was killed in the storeroom, you in fact encountered him in the main part of the shop. Well, yeah, sorry. Well, we find ourselves at an interesting juncture. This changes matters considerably. But honest governor, this time, we ain't got nothing more to hide. Very well, counsel for the defense, you may proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. This is it. The moment I've been waiting for. Alright, let's do it. Encounter with the victim. Alright, so we just got inside the gaff and heaved a sigh of relief when the geezer showed his mug. I'm pressing everything, guys. Let's go. I am ready.
Hold it!
When you say geezer, I presume you mean the victim and the proprietor of the shop, Mr. Winterbank? Who else? Sorry, I mean, that's right. We was keeping a close eye on the entrance to the gap, obviously. But we never thought no one was gonna come out of the back room like that. The back room being the pawnbrokery storeroom? Yeah, that must be where he popped up from, only place he could have been. So it would seem the victim was already in the storeroom when these brothers entered the premises. Which means Ginny must have been in there at that point as well. But that doesn't make sense, does it? If Gina had threatened Mr. Winterbank in the storeroom with her at gunpoint, then why would he have emerged from the same room all alone when the brothers arrived? Oh, I don't know. What, that mall tooler couldn't tell you? No way, copper. We had bigger fish to fry then. I mean, the old geezer just lost it. Give me that gun, he bellowed, and then he flew at us like he was possessed. I thought we had it.
Hold it!
You mentioned that Mr. Winterbank shouted these words in your previous testimony too. However, you claimed that you heard him yelling them on the other side of the storeroom door. Oh, did we? But the truth is, he was shouting those words at you, wasn't he? Well, yeah. Was the victim Mr. Winterbank wielding a gun at the time? Was he ever? Blimey lummy, a great ugly barrel he had pointing straight at me frontispiece. So what you're saying is, you definitely saw Mr. Winterbank with the gun at that time, is that right? It is, Gov, it is. Spot on. Then all of a sudden, he came at us, he did. It was bedlam. I didn't know who was going for who. You were clearly all going for each other. Like Nash said, we thought we had it. I mean... For an old geezer, the bloke was strong as an ox. He chucked me over the counter.
Hold it!
Yes, I noted that you mentioned the counter in your previous testimony too. Well, yeah, of course we did. He knocked over a load of books, a candlestick, and some skull whatnot. That got tangled in some marionette, what knocked over a picture frame, what knocked them scales on the floor. So in fact, it wasn't the sound of the gunshot that shocked you and made you knock these things off the counter. Well, Big Bruv here went flying over that counter like a gunshot, I can tell ya. Then the old geezer pinned him. He did, Nash, he did. If you hadn't been there, the bloke would have flattened me like a bloomin' pancake in seconds. At the time in question, the alarm was raised at the local police station via a secret cable from the pawnbrokery. There's a button under the counter used to activate it, which was presumably pressed by the victim. That's right. When the brothers fled the scene and back onto the street, they ran straight into the arriving police, didn't they? Poor Mr. Winterbank. He did everything he could to protect his shop. I pulled my gun on him, and then he legged it through the door into the back room.
Hold it!
Were you intending to shoot Mr. Winterbank? No, never. I was just, you know, looking out from above, weren't I? He was being flattened, don't forget. By a man whose shop was being burgled? Yes. And then the man fled into the storeroom when you pointed your gun at him, is that it? Yeah, that's it. He shoved me away, then ran off through that door and shut himself in. There's something about that last remark. Something that doesn't quite ring true. I wonder why Mr. Winterbank ran away to the storeroom. What? Well, according to what everyone's saying, Gina was in there waiting for him with a gun. Ah, yes, that's right. Gina allegedly used Mr. Winterbank's gun to threaten him and force him to open the storeroom door. In which case, how did the gun end up in Mr. Winterbank's hands again? I have no idea. That is strange, isn't it? This little inconsistency could be significant. I should make a mental note of it. Look, the point is, me and my bruv here... That's right, Nash, that's right. Me and my bruv here... We've never had nothing to do with killing him. That's all. What happened, I swear.
Hold it!
You say you had nothing to do with it. Nothing at all. Nothing, Gov. Nothing. The old geezer went and shut himself in the back room, didn't he? Locked, it was. From the inside. We know it was because we tried to open it. But it's a decent door, that one. Good and strong. Wouldn't budge an inch. So in the end, the situation remains unchanged. Inside the storeroom with the pawnbroker, there was only one other person. The sole person who could possibly have shot the victim, the accused, Miss Gina Lestrade. It would indeed appear so. What say you that, counsel? I don't know. Was there anyone else apart from Gina who could possibly have shot Mr. Winterbank? There could have been. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin. What? What's the look for? From the moment you admitted that you encountered the victim face to face that night, the course of this trial changed completely. It did? What is your point, my learned friend? The question we must answer is who could have shot Mr. Winterbank, and it is the belief of the defense that the defendant is not the only possible answer at all. You have my attention. In that case, let us return to this plan of the premises. The victim was killed in the storeroom, which was locked from the inside. Those are the facts. So pray, what other possible answer to the question of who shot the man could there be? Counsel, you must now provide answers to the court in respect of the two conundrums. Two, my lord? Twice as many chances to be right, maybe. Indeed, namely, from what location did the culprit shoot the victim, and furthermore, where was the victim at the time? Understood, my lord. Are you alright, Runo? I'm not entirely sure, but there's one thing I am sure about. If I can prove that there's a credible new alternative to what happened, it would change Gina's prospects hugely. So now, time for some clarity. Show the court on this plan the answers to the questions posed by his lordship. If you believe someone else could have killed the victim, indicate from where that person could have fired the gun. Alright. It's gonna take me a while to get used to these controls. Hold on. I'm so used to using my controller that every time I go back to keyboard, it's just like relearning it again. It's not hard, obviously. Give me a minute. Okay.
Take that!
The defense believes the culprit could have shot the victim from this location here. And in the answer to the second question, assuming the culprit fired from the location indicated where was the victim at the time.
Take that!
The culprit shot the victim from outside the storeroom. Continue. Mr. Windenbank died instantly from a bullet wound in his back. Looking at the stain of blood on the storeroom floor, it doesn't appear that the body was removed after death, which tells us that he was almost certainly shot while he was in the storeroom. However, the crucial point is, where was the shooter when the fatal bullet was fired? So you are adamant that the shot was fired from outside the storeroom? Well, according to the Skulkin brothers' earlier testimony, I pulled my gun on him and then he legged it through the door into the back room. And if Mr. Windenbank ran away through the door, we have to assume that the door was open at the time. It was at precisely that moment when the victim was fleeing for his life that these brothers had the perfect opportunity to shoot the man in the back once he was inside the storeroom. Come to think of it, do you remember what the prosecutor said at the start of the trial? Moving on to the findings of Scotland Yard's coroner, his report states that the bullet entered the body on a rising diagonal trajectory. It means the victim was likely shot by someone significantly shorter in height than himself. Poor man, shot while he was running as fast as he could to safety. Of course. He would have been leaning forward as he was running away, so even if the bullet was fired horizontally, it would still have entered his body in an upward trajectory. So the culprit isn't necessarily someone shorter than Mr. Windenbank.
Objection!
I'm sure my learned friend can't have forgotten that the storeroom door was found closed and locked from the inside. You claim the victim was shot as he fled into the room. Do you also claim his corpse was dexterous enough to turn the key in the lock? But what if someone else locked the door? Yes, there is someone else who could have locked the storeroom door. Is that so? Very well then, counsel. Present your hypothesis to the court. In the scenario just described, the defense assertion is that the victim was shot from the outside the storeroom. In which case, who shot and locked the storeroom door from the inside? Well, past it. Gina.
Take that!
Obviously, the person who locked the door was the only other person inside the storeroom at the time. The defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade.
Objection!
That's absurd. You're suggesting that the accused deliberately engineered the sealed room? For what possible reason? Such actions would only serve to tighten the noose around their neck. I'm inclined to agree, I must say. Well, counsel? Yes, that's a tricky one, that, isn't it? Half-baked notions have no place in my courtroom, counsel. Remember that, please. But of course, Ginny would have locked the door. It almost goes without saying, doesn't it? It does? Well, if I was Ginny in that situation, I know I would have locked the door as quickly as I could. I mean, those two burglars had just fired a gun in her direction, hadn't they? Oh yes, obviously. Before the two brothers arrived, Miss Lestrade and Mr. Windenbank were in the storeroom together. Now, I don't know what went on between them at that time, but at some point, Mr. Windenbank must have heard the intruders breaking into his shop and left the storeroom. Intruders, huh? That's us, bruv. If your theory is correct, that would leave the accused alone in the storeroom. Yes, it would. Then, probably only moments later, the victim fled back through the storeroom door hoping to escape danger. Hit in the back by the bullet, Mr. Windenbank fell to the floor where he was, just inside the storeroom. And what we have to ask ourselves now is, what would the defendant have done in that moment? I see where you're going with this. Outside the storeroom was a terrifying killer who had just murdered Mr. Windenbank. As soon as that thought struck Miss Lestrade, she slammed the door shut and locked it. in order to save her own life.
Hold it!
But I mean, we ain't the ones who done it. We ain't, Gov. We ain't. You gotta believe us. I mean, come on. We've never shoot no one.
Objection!
That's blatantly untrue. I know for a fact that you would. Because before my own eyes, you shot Mr. Herlock Sholmes. There is only one logical conclusion here. Mr. and Mr. Skulkin, you brothers had every opportunity to have been the true perpetrators of Mr. Winterbank's murder. Yeah! Where does this leave us? You mean to say it wasn't the pickpocket? I should have known it was those three brothers. They look as shady as wait, three? That was amazing, Runo. Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to end the video here for today. Thank you all for watching. We're gonna definitely continue this when we return. So on to the next one, guys.